All right, hello and welcome to episode 2 of Beer with a Brewer. I am Dalen and I'm here today with Danny and Deanna and Charles. And today we are going to try what we are calling our Solera series. So we're going to do the first two beers out of our Solera series. They come in 750 milliliter bottles. They're pretty easy to spot on the shelf. They're a matte black. And yeah, we only package 1,000 of each bottle. So if you can get your hands on one, it's great to get it now because they aren't going to be around forever. So these are some of the ones that we deliver. If you're living in Grand Prairie, we can deliver it directly to your door. Each of them we are retailing for 24 bucks a bottle. Like I said, they're 750 ml bottles. If you live outside of Grand Prairie and you're looking for it, both of them are on Liquor Connect. For Solera the first, the SKU number is 827219. Solera the second, the SKU is 830202. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about the Solera series, and then we are going to jump into tasting them. You guys excited for these ones? These are special beers. All right. So if you're wondering where the name Solera came from, it's a kind of a process that a lot of people use. They don't only use it in beer; they use it in wine and brandy and even vinegar and stuff. But it's essentially the term for fractional blending. So it's to increase the average age of a product, so you fill up a barrel with beer in this case, let it age, and you only package half of it and then top it off with younger beer. And so the average age continues to rise. So for this one, we're kind of following a makeshift Solera process. Solera the first is about 1 year by the time we had packaged it, that it had been aged in both oak and steel. And then once we packaged it, we added the next beer that went into it to make Solera the second. So the average age went from 1 year when we emptied it to 9 months. And when we emptied the tank for Solera the second, the average age of the year was already back up to a year, just because of the beer that we chose to blend in was already a little bit older as well. So this is something that we should be able to release new series 2 to 3 times a year, and you'll be able to have a little bit of continuity and flavor, but it also gives us a lot of flexibility to steer the beer in a different direction with each release. So they are pitched bacteria and yeast blends initially, and then the barrels that we age in, we are selective with what goes into it, so you get a little bit of inoculation from those barrels to help drive the flavor when we're blending. So we're going to start with Solera the first. So it's Solera the first, featuring cherries. If we were to release it into a competition, and they had the full BJCP guideline beers, we'd probably put it in category 23, which is European sours. They're typically not bitter beers. They use the sourness of the beer to balance them out. And then the subcategory would be F, which would be fruit lambic. So you could consider it maybe more of like a Kriek style beer. But yeah, let's cheers, guys. Let's open them up.
Boy.
And so before we get too into it, before we start talking about the beers, just to kind of get to know everyone a little bit, I'm going to ask you a Rob Reiner question. Same question to everybody, and I just want an answer. You don't give us a reason. But if if you were to watch a Rob Reiner movie, would you pick The Princess Bride or This Is Spinal Tap? We'll start with you, Charles.
Princess Bride.
Danny?
This is Spinal Tap.
And Deanna?
Princess Bride.
All right. I would pick This Is Spinal Tap. And yeah, so hopefully that gives everybody a little bit of some insight into why we are describing the beers the way that we are. So yeah, we're going to talk about the appearance, the aroma, the flavor, and the mouthfeel. And so now that you guys know kind of what is to go into the beer, with some of the descriptions that I gave you, why don't we start talking about some of that stuff?
Well,
Mm-hmm. Let's go for color. Let's go get the light in.
So in terms of color, it's a little bit of a darker beer. Not a ton of light is coming through it. I know it's kind of end of the day here, but I'm getting a little bit of like brown highlights. What about what are you guys picking up in terms of aroma?
Who's supposed to go here? Is this just shoot? Anybody goes?
Just go for it. Yeah.
I mean, the cherry is very noticeable on the front for sure. That's the first thing I notice, which is obvious, I guess.
yeah.
Yeah, so cherry skin and kind of getting a hint of like vanillins, maybe from oak, like.
Mm.
I think my problem is I don't have a very good nose, so I just smell like
Make
that's...
up with it with a great face, Deanna.
Oh, thanks. But actually, like, I get the pretty consistent, like, sour smell that you would get from like other sour beers, and more consistently like both Soleras.
How's it tasting, Charles?
Really good. I was not expecting that color. I think that's a bigger shock to me than anything. But
Mm-hmm.
Did you think it was going to be lighter? Is that why?
yeah, I think so. I don't know why. I just was expecting it a bit lighter.
Well, most fruit beers, I guess, are
Yeah.
light.
Yeah, like you don't expect that much sweetness, I guess, coming out of it being that dark, I would say.
Yeah, I would say it's if you've had a few Krieks, it might be a little bit different than that. It's a little bit more malty. There's definitely some tartness to it, but that sweetness definitely pushes through as well. And I mean, I don't know if it's just me thinking about it, but I almost get like a bit of that malts gives it almost a graham flavor. The oak gives it a little bit of vanilla. And it's with it being a little bit of sweet and that cherry coming through, it reminds me a lot of like cherry cheesecake.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
But like the best part is it's like not sweet like cherry cheesecake.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you take a bite of cherry cheesecake, it's like sweetness in your face.
Not too rich.
This is a good.
Mm-hmm. So it's so Solera, the first is 5.7% alcohol, and in a 750 mil, and especially being a sour, I think Danny and Dee are a bit of an advantage. It's definitely a really fun bottle to share. It's rich, it's tart, but it's not like it's going to give you heartburn or drinking balsamic vinegar or anything like that.
Just want to say also, I drink it by myself.
Yeah, Deanna rarely shares.
So I don't share.
so this is a real treat. It's a real
Well, excellent. Do you guys have any other comments before we start talking about Solera 2?
I can't really say more than it's my favorite
Yep.
beer
Oh.
I've ever made.
Good grief. All right. Well, while we work away at these, I'll start talking a little bit about Solera the Second. So Solera the Second, it's our second release. We released it about 6 months after Solera the First. So Solera the Second, Solera the First had the tagline featuring cherries. Solera the Second, we have it as fruit punch. It's 5.0% alcohol by volume. So it's a little bit of a lower ABV beer, but also in the same signature matte black 750 ml bottle. So for this particular one, it does contain about 50% of the beer is the Solera the First. So it is more of like a fruit lambic style with the cherries. But the way that the beer that we had added into it, we had made a wheat beer, a slightly lower ABV wheat beer, and we inoculated it with a little bit more Brett. And so if I was to stick this one in a competition category, I'd probably put it in category 28, American Wilds, and subcategory A, which is Brett beers. So with a lot of American sour Bretts, you do find that they start off a little bit more fruity, and as they age in cellar over the next couple of years, you'll notice that the Brett will start to develop a lot more. A lot of people describe it as funk with age, so you get a little bit more complexity, and the fruit begins to rescind a little bit, and you get a lot more of those earthy or horse blanket or barnyard sorts of flavors. So with Solera the Second, it is a newer release, so it's going to be a little bit more on the fruity side. But yeah, I'm going to finish the first, and we can get on to that. I might grab a second glass actually here.
Oh, yeah, what happened to just using one?
Well, I'd like to do a nice side-by-side comparison, so I'm just going to grab another one here quick.
As will I.
All right. So if the second glass that I'm using is some of you might recognize this. It's a Edmonton Beer Geeks, the Real Ale Festival. This one is from 2018. If I was to drink a sour, I prefer the Tiku style glass, something that really exaggerates the aromas and the flavors. But I mean, whatever you've got works. All right, so Solera the Second, fruit punch.
I feel like that's too much.
Okay. Oh, you get more, I see.
All right, so the second, it definitely pours a lighter hue. It's still got those cherry brown notes, but it is a lot more, a lot less opaque than the first one is. Light definitely gets through it.
Mm-hmm. It's an interesting color. I don't know.
Yeah, it'd be it's more of like a deep cider.
Mhm.
Not a lot of head retention.
No.
Not at all.
All right, so I'm getting there's still that hint of cherry in the aroma. A
My
little
nose
bit.
isn't a little bit of an apple, almost, or like kind of a cidery.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. And then so this one is 5% compared to the 5.7 with Solera the first. I'm finding it drinks a fair bit lighter.
Quite a bit.
Yeah.
It's a drier beer, and the while it does have those hints of cherry from the first, there's a lot more.
Yeah. Fruit.
Yeah, pineapple. And maybe
I'm
some.
getting definitely a lot more of a cidery feel, I feel like, than the first one. Like
Yeah.
even like Charles talked about it with the smell too. Now I mentioned it, I definitely tasted it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I'm getting a little more green melon, and yeah, it's definitely a drier, more effervescent too, champagne-y,
Yeah,
almost in the mouth.
that's the comment I was just about to make. That mouthfeel.
Mm.
But yeah, it's definitely a lot more nuanced and more delicate, I would definitely say, than Solera the first. Yeah. Any other comments you guys have?
I think it's actually like crazy the difference even in the aroma between the two. The Solera one is quite a bit stronger smelling.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Yeah, and again, yeah, it's there's a tartness to it, but yeah, you can start to see that a lot of that those Brett notes, they're more of a restrained fruit right now, and there's a hint of funk that's gonna definitely develop more. It's gonna be a really fun beer, I think, to cellar. All right, well, yeah, I mean, that was a lot of fun. Thanks, guys, and I hope you. I mean, I think we might just sign off and then enjoy the rest of the beers together. But thanks for joining in. If you have any other questions, don't hesitate to reach out to Grain Bin, and we would be happy to help you out. But thanks again, guys, for joining us, Danny, Deanna, and Charles, and Nostrovia.